You may be seated. The next thing on the agenda is a public hearing for proposed Wetzel County Schools budget for the 2024-2025 school year. Are there any comments from the public about the proposed budget? Seeing no comments, we'll move on to the third thing. It's the adoption of the Wetzel County Schools budget for the 24-25 school year. Superintendent recommends adoption of it as proposed for the 24-25 school year. Do I have a motion?
I move for the adoption of the budget for 24-25.
Okay, there has been a motion. Is there a second? It's been moved by Mr. Caslow and seconded by Mr. Price. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next thing, it's a great part of being on the board for, is the recognitions. So the first will be the TSA, the first place, the West Virginia State TSA competition, Long Drain School. Do you want me to call the names?
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great.
You can come forward, please, if you're here or whoever's in charge of it. Middle School Chapter of the Year.
Do I have a link to that?
I was gonna say, I thought Mr. Kelch was here, I saw him. Austin Hayes. Melina Rush. Owen Kennedy. Audrey Wong. Gerald Fordyce. Gavin McLaughlin. Madison Thayer. Braxton Briggs. Zoe Jennings. Raven Greathouse. John Fordyce. Lyndon Johnson. Riley Wright. Emma Stone King.
Sammy White.
Let's track.
Were there any names on this?
This one right here?
That's Connor. Vincent.
I don't have her on my list. Okay.
Sammy White.
She's not on my list, but
She was one, yep.
she did.
Yep.
Sammy White. From Hundred High School, Vincent Sigley. Connor Snedden. Tatiana Adams. Ariana Zarko. Julian Conaway. Jackson Huggins. Trey Huggins. Seth Michael. any other names that I may have missed that weren't on this? Let's go ahead and get a picture then. Okay, next are the first place West Virginia State track winners. Jenna Blaine. Valley Greenhouse. Lakin Dawson. Ariana Zarko. Katie Householder. Jocelyn Sawinski. Haven Anderson. Madeline Still. And we also have a PBIS model school, which is Clayton City Elementary. Next item on the agenda is a presentation by Beverly Van Syok on college and career courses.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank Mrs. Bonner for inviting me to attend tonight and speak to you all regarding college and career prep activities that occur each year at Hundred High School. I'd also like to thank our board members and Mrs. Porter for attending graduation on Saturday. I think it was really nice for our families and staff, faculty, to see the support that you all offer our families and our students. At Hundred High School, our SRAB focus has been career exploration for the past couple of years. Students have researched different jobs and written essays, as well as completed career interest surveys. Students have also had opportunities to leave the building on multiple occasions to see colleges and careers firsthand. Juniors and seniors are eligible to attend a minimum of 2 college tours per year. As a general rule, we go to WVU and Fairmont State because those are the schools that most of our students attend. At times, we do visit other schools if students express interest and if we can make it happen. We've toured West Virginia Junior College, Glenville State, West Liberty, Pierpont Community and Technical College, and Mount West Community and Technical College. We were scheduled to tour UNOH, which is the University of Northwestern Ohio. However, we had to cancel due to flooding, which was necessitated our school closures this year. We participate in our county college fair on an annual basis, and in addition have attended the Marshall County College Fair. We have also attended Project Best Career Fair in Wheeling and the Mon General Health Careers Fair in Clarksburg. During Hornet Time, which is our advisory program, we have had guest speakers from colleges, universities, trade unions, specialty industries, and military branches. Speakers from from First Exchange Bank have discussed job opportunities in the banking industry, as well as financial literacy topics such as student loans, mortgages, compound interest, financing options, savings plans, etc. Admissions counselors from Lincoln Tech, West Virginia Junior College, Fairmont State University, Pierpont, WVU, Marshall, Glenville State, Bethany College, West Liberty University, the University of Northwestern Ohio, and the former Wheeling Jesuit University have all provided college and career presentations, as well as discussed relevant topics. Representatives have talked to students about the admissions process, financial aid and scholarships, dorm life, campus activities, choosing meal plans, maintaining promised scholarships, programs of study, the difference between associate's degrees and bachelor's, and tips to help them succeed in college. The presenters have even talked to the student body about plagiarism, academic probation, the importance of attending class, and mental health and other services available on campuses. Over the years, state troopers from the West Virginia State Police have presented school-wide sessions on career opportunities. Recently, students were given the opportunity to tour the mobile crime lab, and detectives talked to them about changes in the law which will allow 18-year-olds to be hired as state troopers. Following the school-wide presentation, the crime scene investigator met with the forensic science and human anatomy students. He provided in-depth insight into the investigation process and crime scene analysis. He also talked with students about the steps required to hold this type of position and the commitment of time and energy that is needed to be thorough and successful. During the pandemic, college fairs and tours were conducted virtually. While this was not ideal, it was the only option available to our students at that time. Unfortunately, not all students took advantage of the opportunities that were available. We've worked hard over the years to provide an extensive college and career program. An attempt is made to keep the program fresh by rotating speakers and trips. Over the course of a 3 to 4 year period, all of the previously mentioned schools and representatives will either speak during Hornet time, set up a lunch display, offer a classroom presentation, or will have a campus tour. Some schools choose to do all of these activities, while others will participate at different levels throughout the years. This permits students to see a wide variety of educational opportunities and learn more about potential careers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, under delegations, number 6, the 2 listed there were not able to attend tonight after all, so they will not be delegations, but we do have 3 that signed up. The first one will be Jana Turner about Page City High School. Oh, yes, since we don't have the clock for the 5 minutes, Mr. Price is going to keep track, and when he gets to 1 minute, he'll motion you to know that you have a minute left.
Okay, thank you. My name's Jana Turner. I'm an alumni of Peyton City High School, class of 67. My husband, class of 65, and my son, class of 92. And we're also lifelong residents of Peyton City. At one of the last board meetings, a board member mentioned there needed to be more transparency. I assume this means elected officials, administration, as well as citizens. On April 4th, a special meeting was held to discuss a letter received from the State Department of Education concerning the air quality of Peyton City High School, with the development of a contingency plan to take Peyton City students to Magnolia because of air quality, which was published in the Wetzel Chronicle in great detail. However, at the last board meeting, a letter from the EPA reported to a citizen in writing that the air quality tested in 2022 and as late as February of 24 was safe all 3 times. This was great news for the community, but again, the plan to merge Peyton City with Magnolia did not stand as a legitimate reason to again shut down our school. However, in the Wetzel Chronicle article of this meeting, there was absolutely no mention of this email or the results of the testing. My question to this was this information made known to family of students currently at Peyton City High School and Peyton City Elementary School? Or has it just remained as a scare tactic to once again try to lower school student enrollment to use as a reason to close our high school? I have a part of this. This is from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Resources, Agency for Toxic and Substances and Disease Registry, Office of Community Health and Hazard Assessment of Atlanta, Georgia. My husband's handing out the copy. This comes from a 41-page report done by this agency. Groundwater, this is Peyton City. Groundwater PCE and TCE levels near Peyton City High School were above the respective screening values for soil vapor intrusion. However, indoor air concentrations in several locations within the building were all below air screening values. Based on this data, any vapor intrusion occurring at the Peyton City High School is not expected to result in harmful health effects. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate you remember the rules. Like I over them, but for those that still only have 5 minutes to talk, we can't respond, for those of you who don't know this, we cannot respond to delegations because we can't speak to anything that's not on the agenda already. And all comments are to be made to the board and not to the audience, and they should not be of a personal nature. The board is not responsible for the speaker's comments. The speaker is responsible for his or her own comments. Okay, our next person on the delegations is Courtney Cecil.
Hello. My name is Courtney Cecil. I just live here in town. I just got a little bit of things to say, not a whole lot. I won't take 5 minutes. We've become such a throwaway society. When things break, we simply throw it out and get a new one. But we're dealing with kids and parents' lives for our entire community on this at 100 High School. We cannot throw this out, and we cannot treat it as one of those things that you can just toss aside and move on, because this affects us for years to come. I moved here, married my husband. He's a alumni to the Hornets, and I have 4 kids in this school district, and 1 in the high school, 3 in the elementary. I want them to grow as Hornets. My husband's a Hornet. His brother was a Hornet alumni. Everybody in their family. This community is something you don't see every day. When we move our kids out of 100, you take 100. You take 100. Everything we have here thrives on these kids. After the great big flood we had that wiped out our town, the grocery store, our local grocery store, Belco Foods, was going to shut its doors. My mom worked there at the time. They said, let us try. So they did, and they gave them, what they could to get it cleaned up, fill the store back up with what you could, do what you can. But they were getting rid of it. It was all a write-off to get rid of the store, to close it down. Nothing more could be done. My husband and I bought it at the height of COVID. We had no idea what we were doing. We just knew there were women that worked in that store that needed to have jobs, and people needed groceries in this town. I had a baby. My youngest is 4. She starts pre-K this fall. We just had the dream of keeping us here, having something to hand to them here, and having something this entire community needs. This store cannot stay without 100 High School. You take our kids, you take our clientele. Parents follow education. And when you take away the opportunity for it here, our other businesses cannot thrive. Just one more thing I want to say for the sports and things. I'm a mom, I work, my husband works in a coal mine. I cannot drive to New Martinsville for practices every night. That's something we take away. My kid's multi-sport athlete. She's going into sophomore year, plays sports every season she can. That's not something we can do anymore. That's not something we could offer her. We could have her bus to the school, but she couldn't do anything extracurricular. It's completely out of our budget, out of our time zones. We all work right here in town or up toward Pennsylvania in the coal mines. So it's very important to us that we keep our school here, and we're just asking to pour a little bit into us, because I think in the next couple of years you're going to see a big growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last delegation is Karen Longwell. Mrs. Longwell, you know the rules, and he will motion to when there's a minute left.
Sadly, I know the rules. I am Karen Longwell. I came here in 1958 when my father became a teacher here and haven't left. I am speaking on 2 issues. And I'm speaking for Mr. Eric Yost, but also for myself. Number 1, the principal teacher, tech teacher combination posting that went up and then came down. And number 2, the technology equipment that is at 100 High School. So number 1, the posting was specific on principal qualifications, but not specific on technology education qualifications. Scott Lemley addressed this major concern and the fact that it just is not feasible to expect someone to be principal and then part-time be a teacher. I am advocating, and we all are, for a 100 high school principal who prioritizes student well-being and academic success while also supporting the teachers and staff. A principal who fosters a positive and inclusive school culture and provides resources and guidance to help our students thrive. A principal who is a strong leader, a good listener, and dedicated to 100 High School. And I trust that the interview committee was looking for that also, and that they may have selected the best candidate for that job, being the principal. However, a principal candidate was not found in Wetzel County to have the specific certification or qualification for technical education. You could hire this person as a full-time principal, which I would fully recommend, and I believe most people would. But you perhaps need to insist the superintendent make a new job posting on the state job website for a separate full-time technical education position. It's not too late. Mr. Yost spoke with an 8th grade student today who was part of the children here tonight and who has been so successful in TSA. He is college material and needs college preparation, but he cannot spend 2 hours a day going to the Career Center and get all of his prep completed for his college. The kids here tonight are basically having another door closed on them. Second thing I like to talk about, the equipment. The equipment in the technical education department. In one of our public hearings, we asked several people asked that question. What about the equipment? What are you going to do? You want to take the technical education teacher. What about the equipment that's been invested here at 100 High School that's utilized by many technical education programs? And it was stated that all the equipment, even though not on the record, all the equipment would stay at 100 High School if the teacher left to go to the tech center. Well, the equipment is leaving, and they were told that they could requisition new equipment. That is great if the requisitions are approved and if all the equipment is replaced, which is yet to be seen. The entire school and all the programs receive a benefit from the use of the equipment that is going out the door. So it is essential for the entire school to still have that equipment and for us to have a full-time technical education teacher. Please consider these things when you're deciding on the job. Thank you.
Okay, number 7 on the agenda, superintendent's information.
Is this on? No?
Yes. Thank you, good evening. Okay, a few things on my list tonight. Last day for our students is Friday. They'll have a half a day. It's been wonderful watching them grow all year, and I wish our students and staff a great summer break. I want to congratulate all of our graduates. We did attend all 4 graduation ceremonies. They were all lovely. It's very nice to see that growth of children matriculate through. Today we did meet with Thrasher for phase 1. We talked about community-wide surveys. We are currently working on a survey that will be pushed out. We will make sure that that is pushed out on social media, the Chronicle, via mail, and any other ways we can get that out. So be looking for a survey, I'm hoping within 2 to 3 weeks, will be coming your way. We are still currently working on the Payne City High School situation. We realize it's been a while since I've reported out on this, and that's because we are still working with the state and legal advice. I do want to just reassure you, I know I'm not supposed to speak to delegations, but any equipment that any student needs in our county, you can be assured that they will have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next one, board discussion, possible action on job postings. I want to read this to everybody first, and then we can discuss as needed. I asked for this to be put on the agenda after last meeting's delegations are concerned with the dual posting at Hunter High School. The posting had been made, 3 people had bid on it, and the posting was taken down before the delegation spoke to the board. I looked into the legality of these actions with our board counsel and with the current executive director of the West Virginia School Board Association. The executive director also checked with the previous director. All 3 stated the same thing. We have to follow county policy. We do not have a policy dealing with this. Therefore, the current county office staff had the right to post the job without bringing it first to the board. That's the legality of it. They did have the right to do that. Secondly, I believe that we should look into having a policy dealing with positions that are changed, not just add like an extra second grade or an extra something like that, be brought to the board for future consideration. So at this time, if anybody on the board wants to make any comment or any motion on anything, that would be the time.
I'll just add this. It's tricky part. I don't know sometimes how much I'm supposed to educate. This role is weird. When we go to training, we get trained. I remember when I actually ran for this office and got elected and had to go be trained prior to getting seated. It was fascinating for me to learn that everything I thought I would do on this board, I wasn't allowed to do any of it. And then everything I didn't want to do, I had to do all that. And it was very interesting to learn about that. We're trained to stay out of the education side. And the reason is I didn't go to school to be an educator. And the classroom teachers, I promise you, the classroom teachers, and there's a bunch of them here, you all would nod if you believe what I'm about to say. If the 5 of us showed up in your classroom and started telling you how to teach, you would throw a fit. You would absolutely throw a fit. And you'd say, get out of my classroom. I learned to be a teacher, not an educator, right? And then we're put into positions where now we're going to say, well, we know how to post jobs, and we know so it's tricky. That's all I'm trying to say. It's tricky because we don't necessarily have a background. I'm not an educator. I didn't go to college to be an educator. I don't have that background that allows for me to understand what's needed and what's not needed inside of our schools. And so when it comes to job postings, we're trained to let the education people do that. Let the people that are in education, let them deal with the postings and what we need in our schools and how that goes about, and do our best to stay out of the way. If there's a posting that requires the board spend more money than it did budget, then it does have to come to us. Even if there isn't a policy, by the way. Even without a policy, if it requires that the board spend more money, then they have to bring it to us. Because you can't spend more money without asking the board whether we can spend more money. So there are some restrictions that even come just by the natural flow of things. But job postings are hard to deal with from a board standpoint because it's not what we do. We don't micromanage the educational process on a daily basis. We're just taught not to do that, in fact. And the grievance board would hold that up, by the way. You can go back and read all those dockets and hear years and years and years of people who filed grievances against boards because they kept interjecting into the educational flow. But with that said, we do have a responsibility when it comes to hiring. But again, there's lots about that, by the way. If all 3 elements of the hiring process says that's the classroom teacher, the law says the board shall appoint that teacher. In other words, we rubber stamp it. And people say, why did you rubber stamp it? Well, because the law requires me to rubber stamp it. It required me to hire that person because all three entities that were in the process said that's the person. When it comes to service, that's pretty clear because that's basically classification and seniority. We don't have any say. It basically just goes by those basic issues. So I just thought I would share that a little bit with the public tonight to help you understand a little bit. There's some distinction between the roles between central office, high school classroom situations, and the role the board has in that process, and why we're not necessarily, in fact, once something posted, then we're actually legally bound not to get involved once something has been posted. We can't come back, because then it looks like that if we started messing around with it, then you can say, then my cousin gets the job. And you say, oh yeah, Brian Price in the board office finagled that posting because his cousin fits the description, and now he got the job, and now I'm being drugged in front of the corporate. And so it's just tricky. It's tricky. And where our role and where everybody else's role fits in that narrative. And so just thought I would share that since it was on our agenda as it relates to that.
And it is true, I think all of us have gone through all of our many hours in training. It's sometimes very discouraging.
I'm a little bit concerned about the safety of the aspect of it, by having two jobs. One, if the principal is in a classroom teaching and there's an emergency situation come up, then you have the kids left alone, that principal to go take care of that situation. I'm a little bit concerned about that.
And then Mrs. Bonner, just come back and say that again here when it comes up on the agenda.
Right.
Okay.
Because
We're talking strictly about the general postings right now.
when we get down to the
When we
higher.
get down to that, then please, just to keep us straight.
We can do that.
And so say it again, but I do want you to say it again.
We can do that.
Okay?
All right, so anything else about the job posting? Okay, if not, we'll move on to number 9, superintendent's recommendation, approval of minutes from the regular meeting, May 13th, 2024. Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Nice. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Castello. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now under personnel matters, we have a few things on here that we're going to, it's on the,
Yeah, Ms. Bonner, I am recused on Hannah Clark. And so if the board would, I'll step aside and be with handle Hannah Clark, which is under professional personnel, a change in assignment from substitute teacher to 6-8 science teacher short line.
okay.
I'll step outside and let you all deal with that part of the agenda, and then I'll come back in for the rest.
Madam President, also.
Wait a minute,
What?
Mrs. Bonner, I'll let you a note. There's one change on.
Right, I'm just, I have it ready
Thank
too.
you.
I'm going to do his first. Okay, so we're just going to meet right now on the Hannah G. Clark for a change in assignment from countywide substitute teacher to 6-8 science teacher at Shortline School. All those in favor of
It's only that.
just that one is the only one we're doing right now. Do I have a motion on that one? I'll move that we approve for the change in assignment. Is there a second? It's been seconded, moved by Mrs. Bonner, seconded by Mrs. Nice. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's have him back in, please. Okay, now,
Madam President, I would like to be excused from Tim Starkey, approval of employment of meeting events coordinator, fall season, Martinsville School, effective beginning of 24-25 school year.
would you like to step out, please? And vote on him. I move for approval of appointment as evening event events coordinator for the fall season at the Martinsville School, for Tim Starkey. Is there a second? It's been moved by Mrs. Bonner, seconded by Mrs. Nice. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously with Mr. Glasscock having recused himself. Okay, we have a correction on the second page where it is Cameron Clegg, and it should say speech and language pathologist, not assistant. Make that correction. Are there any other changes or things that need to be pulled out separately?
I would move that we pull
I would move that we pull the under principal technology education, pull that and discuss it separately from the rest of the list. I would move for that.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Price, I'll second that, and seconded by Mrs. Bonner, that we pulled the Dan Wilson approval for change in assignment, to be talked about separately from the rest of the list. And did you want that talked about now, or did you want that to the rest? Okay, so everything else that's on the list, except for that last one now and the two that we've already met on, along with the employment extended school year, people that are being hired for the summer laborers, and for employment of the summer bus operators. So other than the 100 high school principal that we're coming back to, all the rest, do I have a motion for approval of those?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Castello. Is there a second? There's a second by Mr. Glasscock. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, so now we'll go back to the one on Dan Wilson for change in assignment from assistant principal at Magnolia to principal technology education teacher at Hunter High School. If we're discussing the position itself, we can discuss that right here. If we're discussing the personnel, the person, we have to go into executive session. So, comments that you wanted to make?
Okay, the comment I wanted to make is I have concerns about if a principal is in the school and an emergency situation comes up, then the principal leaves the classroom and leaves kids unattended. I have a problem with that.
Any other comments? I will say this, I'm not saying this is what I want, I'm just saying I researched this. With the population size of the school, you only have to have a principal for 2 hours a day and they can teach the rest of the day. That is just by, I know but that's how it's written. That's not how we have it listed. We have them being principal the vast majority of the day. I just wanted to give that information out about that position. Is there anything else?
I try to look there from every angle I can. And what will the enrollment be? What's the projected enrollment for 100 high school next year?
68.
68.
And how many professional employees we're looking at?
17. They have a 6-to-1 ratio of adults to students. They have the highest, or the smallest ratio of adults to students than any of our other schools in the county. And just so I can state that we did a lot of research on this position. There are times that the current principal has had to be out of the building, and there were other teachers that were able to step up and be lead teachers. There was also a time where the current principal taught biology, and they were able to make it work. Also, Hunter High School had 8 discipline referrals last year. So we felt, as doing our due diligence, we felt that one person being the principal and teaching 2 class periods a day, we would be able to more than justify that and be able to handle that at 100.
I believe I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
To discuss the personnel.
Yes.
Okay, is there a second? There's been a motion to go to executive session.
Second.
by Mr. Glassbach, there's a second by Mr. Castello, and we're going per West Virginia Code 6-9A-4, B-2-A for the discussion of personnel matters. All those in favor of going into executive session?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We go into executive session at 6:41. We're back in regular session at 6:56 p.m. We left executive session, the motion by Mr. Price and seconded by Mrs. Nice, and it was a unanimous decision to come back into regular session. So we're going back to the position of the assistant principal at Magnolia High School, moving from Magnolia High School to the technology of teacher principal at Hundred High School, and the candidate is Mr. Dan Wilson. Is there any further discussion before we ask for a motion?
But just for clarification's sake, thank you for the executive session, make sure to double check on qualifications, fully qualified, candidate. And it, was unanimous that of the selection committee, and so appreciate, the clarifications on Mr. Wilson's qualifications that we were able to ascertain. I know there are questions about the position itself. I know Mr. Glassbach has already referenced his concerns. It's a challenge to know sometimes what's right, what's not right. How do you handle it, a situation like that? You don't want to. It's odd to me in some ways, because if a principal chose to go into the classroom, they're listed as the principal of the school, and they made the decision on their own to say, hey, you know what, I can go in and teach a class on this or that I'm qualified to teach. We would commend it. We would say, what a commendable thing, what a dedicated educator, that they're going to take time from their day to figure out a way, and we would be commending that and saying how dedicated that is of that individual educator. But because we put it on paper, it looks different. You know, on one side it's commendable, on the other side, because it's on paper, it looks like it's a problem all of a sudden. And that's where I struggle, trying to balance that. I'm going to be full disclosure and honest. I've always tried to be a straight shooter anytime I've sat in this seat. When I first saw the posting, my reaction was that was a interesting way to solve the problem. That you need somebody to be in charge of that school, but you also do not want to deny students an opportunity to learn certain technical things, and it's a creative way to address that problem. Wetzel County's got real issues that we face. I mean, let's just be honest about that. The enrollment is not going this way; it's going this way, and we've been talking about that for years. And that's not just at Hunter. That's in my town of Payne City. That's at Magnolia. That's at Valley. I mean, it's been cut in half in just the last 15, 20 years. And so we've got to find ways, if we're going to keep community schools open, we're going to have to find ways to get clever at being able to offer services in those communities and still maintain them. Because, let's be honest, you talk about a 6-to-1 ratio, but by the way, that's on the state. If you look it up on the state, and I asked for clarification because I looked it up on the state's website, and it showed it as a 6-to-1, and I wanted to make sure that information was correct. And so that's why I asked the question. Most of our other schools at Wetzel are more like 9-to-1, 11-to-1, some of them. And the challenge of that is, somebody said, well, you got the money. You always hear it, you got the money. If I went to a 6-to-1 ratio across Wetzel County, I wouldn't have the money. Would somebody else have the same right to ask me? Say, well, we'd like to offer these, dozen extra courses. We think our students would benefit from smaller class sizes, more right? So at some point, you gotta say, I can do this in responsible ways and find paths to try to solve problems. You can disagree with me, it's okay. I won't hate you for it, and it won't, I tell people all the time, I've been married for almost 30 years. My wife doesn't agree with me every day, but I love her every day. And so we can disagree on important things, folks, and without having to, some of the vitriol that often comes along with it. I've said that before, I'll keep saying it until I'm off of this board on June 30th. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on when I saw the position as it was posted. And I still, after I've listened to everybody, I've tried to put as much information into my mind as I can. I felt like it's a reasonable way. And we've got a qualified candidate who's ready to take on that task. And let's see, you can always come back and go, that didn't work. And resolve it. And whomever's in that position could always come back. You go, it's just not working out, and outline all the problems that occurred that couldn't get resolved. So anyway, I'll quit talking.
I want to just make one comment that there were people from Hundred on the interview committee, and that it was a unanimous decision by that committee to recommend this person for the position. I also want to add that Mrs. Porter was not on the committee. She kept herself off of it, feeling that would be best with the communications. Any other comments before we make a motion?
Mrs. Porter, any of the equipment that would be removed from Hunter High School, and when if this new position is approved, and Mr. Wilson would make a requisition saying, I need X, Y, and Z, you would do everything in your power to see that they get that.
Absolutely.
If the situation comes up above that did not work out, the teacher, principal, we could go back and correct this problem.
If it would become a problem, of course. We work very closely with our principals, yes.
All right, do I have a motion for approval for change in assignment from assistant principal at Magnolia High School to principal technology education teacher at Hunter High School? Is there a motion?
I move that we approve Dan Wilson for the change in assignment from assistant principal at Magnolia High School to the principal technology education teacher at Hunter High School.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Knight, seconded by Mr. Price. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Am I able to welcome him? Mr. Wilson, would you come forward, please? I'd like to introduce Mr. Dan Wilson. He is coming to us from Magnolia High School, and he is excited to be Hundred High School's new principal and dabble in a little technology. Mr. Wilson.
I want to thank everyone for taking your due diligence on this decision, and I want to make sure you guys know I'm going to give my 100% best effort to serve the students of Hundred High School, and I also want to get to know the community and everybody there and really work for the best interests of our kids. But I'm up for the challenge. I'm going to make sure that I do everything possible to give these kids the best experience they possibly can have, and just enjoy high school and get to know the community members and everything. So I just want to thank you guys and let you know I'm going to be ready to hit the ground running with this position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if I'm looking correctly now, we are down to routine matters. We have have a bus request. Do I have a motion for approval of the superintendent's recommendations as outlined under routine matters? So moved by Mr. Castro. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Price. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Treasurer's report, approval for transfers and increases in the budget.
I have nothing for you this evening.
Okay, there's nothing here. Okay, number 11, board member committee reports. Anything from Aqua? Anything from extension office?
It doesn't fall necessarily under committee, but it's the best place I have to maybe share something with the board that, my wife and I were able to experience. My wife teaches in Payne City, and she has been selected for the National Guard, educator flight over in Morgantown. And actually, I went over there with her and went in to ask them if I could use the restroom and maybe hang out while she flew, and they said, if you want to fly, sign up. And so I got to fly a Black Hawk helicopter with my wife with the National Guard. But here's my point. Let's be talking with our students about the benefit of the National Guard. It was amazing what they offer and the amount of money that is available from scholarships to the amount of money they can make and earn towards their future. If you stay in West Virginia and serve in the West Virginia National Guard, they'll not only just provide what you need to go to school, but you'll end up with the stipend to be able to live on even beyond the expenses for school. So I just felt like that's the best one I knew on the agenda, to at least comment about that and let folks be thinking about within our schools to be at least having conversations. And I know the recruiters come around, but it's hard for them to get everywhere. But anyway, just wanted to mention that. It was great to be around those folks over there in Morgantown. That was on election day was when I was there.
Thank you. Okay, next thing is discussion policy 2322, West Virginia Support and Accountability. Instead of Mrs. McLaughlin and Mrs. Walton talking, Mrs. Standifer is going to speak to that.
Yes, I have you all the final benchmark for iReady, and I compared benchmark 1 to benchmark 3, which would be the final benchmark. And now I'm reading
Mrs.
from-
Sanford, could you please come to the mic?
Oh, yes,
Thank you.
sorry. I'm not talking loud enough.
Well, I just see some people stretching their ears in the back.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm bringing you the benchmark, the final benchmark for iReady. I compared the first benchmark with the third benchmark in math and reading both, and you guys have the results of that. I'm not going to go over each and every school, but when you look through that yourself and look at the schools, you can look at the grade levels will jump out at you, what we really need to be addressing. And that you can see on your own. But we did have a lot of growth. We've really had a lot of growth across the board. In reading, countywide, we went up 27%. Long Drain went up 27% in reading. New Martinsville went up 30%. Payton City Elementary went up 21%. Payton City High School went up 8%. Short Line School went up 25%. We increased in all the domains of the reading. The highest increase was in vocabulary, but, and the largest increases that you see, of course, will be in your primary grades. I mean, and especially like kindergarten, you see they come in with very little green to completely almost. So we've done a really good job there. The teachers have done a great job. And the other side, of course, you see the red going down, and that's a good thing. Okay, for the reds to go down. Yellow's kind of in the middle. Okay, like it's a year behind, so I don't put that in there for you. The largest increase was in New Martinsville School. On your math benchmark, countywide, we went up 31%. Long Range School went up 28%. New Martinsville School went up 34%. Payton City Elementary went up 32%. Payton City High School 7th and 8th grade went up 4%. Short Line went up 25%. So again, the largest the primary grades, when you look at those individual grades, you're gonna see like K through 4 be your highest increases. But when you go through these, please kind of glance at your grade levels, and you can see where we need to work. You know, I mean, it'll be very obvious to you when you look at it. But this is our last iReady benchmark because we switched math this year, and the math that we switched to, Go Math, it has its own benchmark that comes along with it. So that's to make it easier for teachers because it all blends in together. Where iReady's kind of been a separate thing for us. I mean, it wasn't part of our math curriculum like this is. So we have everything feeding the tiered instruction, like the Math 180, that'll feed into the benchmark too. So I think that'll be a good thing.
Well, by knowing where you're moving in your math program is tied right in with what you're testing on.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Makes sense. It makes more sense that way. You're right. So it'll be a change for us, but it'll be a good change. Any questions?
I have to give a big shout out to Mrs. Stanford and Mr. Houston. They worked tirelessly with our teachers and our principals to align all of our goals county-wide, and I think it shows with the growth that we've made this year. Thank you both so much.
I know, I have one more thing, and I probably shouldn't even just say this now, but I'm going to. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate everything.
You deserve an applause. That's
She's one heck of a worker and she's retired. We just approved that tonight, so I've taught with her, I've worked with her, trained A+ teacher, educated. And then she. All right, then we'll go on to number 13, date and time of the next meeting. Regular meeting will be at 6 p.m. at Shortline School on June 11th. Then a regular meeting on June 25th at the county office. And then on July 1st is our statutory meeting at the county office, time to be determined. Do I have a motion for adjournment? Been moved by Mrs. Nice. Is there a second? Been seconded by Mr. Price. All those in